Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kit. As part of Mental Health Awareness Week, I want to do my part to inform people one of the major causes of mental health issues. I was born into a dysfunctional family system. I didn't know about this until in recent years when I was introduced to some self-help books that my Aussie husband had sent me. The first two were Set Yourself Free by Shelley Smith, Behind Closed Doors by the same author, Shelley Smith. Shelley Smith is a psychotherapist. In these two books, I learned about codependence. I learned about the different types of abuse. I learned about different roles that exist in a dysfunctional family system. Further on, I read John Bradshaw's Healing the Shame That Binds You. It was only after reading this book that I realised and learned why my toxic, narcissistic dad had picked on me as the family scapegoat to judge, ridicule, criticise, shame. In his eyes, I was never good enough. I wasn't lovable, I wasn't perfect, I wasn't the golden child. I wasn't the one who propped up his public image because I was the scapegoat. Let me give you some background on how I was the scapegoat. In my mid-teens, I was physically abused by my dad to the extent where he left a massive bruise on this left upper arm. One day when I was at school, it was time to get changed into my t-shirt and shorts for PE, physical education. I remember my teacher immediately asked me when she saw this big bruise on my left upper arm, "What happened to you, Kit Chen? Why do you have such a massive bruise on your left arm?" And without thinking, I blurted out, "Oh, my dad hit me." "What with?" she asked. "A cleaver." "Oh my goodness, I must report this to our headmaster." Report it to the headmaster she did. The headmaster then reported the incident to the police. The police got in touch with my dad through a Chinese interpreter who warned my dad there and then that he was to stop physically abusing me or else further action would be taken. That was a blessing in disguise because that episode helped me to get my dad to stop physically abusing me. Otherwise, the physical abuse would have continued. Now, I'm sharing this not to shame my dad. I'm sharing this to inform people that physical abuse from my parents is unacceptable and it is a crime. Regardless of what your parents tell you, regardless of what society tells you, regardless of what your culture tells you, physical abuse is unacceptable and it is a crime. Our parents' duties are to nurture and protect us. However, in dysfunctional families, this rarely happens because our parents were not nurtured or protected. Therefore, they pass on their parents' dysfunctional behaviours to the next generation. The next generation passes on to the next generation. So abuse in dysfunctional families is a generational issue. Furthermore to my reading, I came across this book, Facing Codependence by Pia Melody. After reading this book, I searched for a Codependence Anonymous group in Glasgow. I started attending regular meetings in this group to understand the behaviours of a codependent, because according to Pia Melody, I was a codependent. I had no idea for my entire life up until recently, I think it was 2016, 2017, that I learned that I was a codependent. Hence why I was attracted to toxic people. I was attracted to abuse, mainly emotional abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, not physical as an adult. However, it is abuse and it is unacceptable and it is a crime. Mental health issues within adults who were born into dysfunctional families is seen in my culture as obvious. It's there. I see it in a number of number of people that I know, number of people that I've been friends with, a number of people that are my mum's friends. The depression is there, the anxiety is there, and other health issues, other mental health issues are there. Because I've read this number of self-help books, I've realised what the signs are when someone has a mental health issue. I've read Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, Karen K. Truman's Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, The Couple's Journey. I have just completed this book that was published last year, But It's Your Family, by Dr. Sherry Campbell. I'm very passionate about learning more regarding codependence, dysfunctional family systems, toxic relationships for my recovery and healing. I am a recovering codependent. This recovery is a lifetime process, because once we have experienced abuse of any shape or form that's described in these self-help books, we need to go through a lifelong journey of letting them go, the memories, the triggers, the psychological abuse that's here that affects our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health. It was devastating and overwhelming to find out that I was born into a dysfunctional family system that had set me up to get into toxic relationships. I endured 14 years of abuse from my ex-husband. I ended the relationship when he pushed me over the edge. One day, he accused me of stealing his money that he borrowed to gamble with. He had lost, I can't remember the exact amount. I remember his exact words were, "If you don't give me that money back, you are not going to see the end of the day." That threat, that verbal threat, was enough to push me over the edge and realised, enough is enough. I've taken more than enough abuse from you. It ends right here. This happened on Christmas Eve 2006. After Christmas and New Year, I went to see a lawyer to ask them to help me to file for divorce. I went through an exceptionally bitter divorce because I was the one who was blamed for breaking up our family. My reality was I broke up our family to protect me from further abuse, to protect my 3 sons from further abuse. According to psychotherapists, when we expose our children to abuse, that is abuse. So my children seeing me being abused by their dad is abuse to them. Because, according to Pia Melody, anything that's less than nurturing from parents on their children is abuse. I knew I had to get away. I knew it was time to end this unfulfilling relationship. However, at the time, I did not know this was abuse because I was brought up with it in my entire life. My mum abused me physically, not as intense as my dad. My dad abused me physically and emotionally. He, according to this author, Dr. Sherry Campbell, is toxic. I wish schools teaches their pupils to recognise the different signs of abuse, the different shapes and forms that abuse comes in, so that they can protect themselves, so that they can ask for help, so that the school recognises the signs of abuse. Sometimes schools and their teachers don't recognise the signs of abuse, and the pupils go through intense pain. Some, sadly, take their own lives to end the abuse because it's ever so heartbreaking and painful. I have considered committing suicide during my 14 years of marriage to my ex-husband due to the abuse that I had endured. I didn't do it because I had our 2 young sons. They were babies and toddlers. I couldn't leave them behind. I couldn't abandon them. I didn't have it in my heart to leave them with their toxic and abusive dad. This issue is close to my heart because I'm a recovering codependent. I know how painful it is for someone to endure constant abuse day after day, night after night, treading on eggshells. They don't know whether their partner is coming or going. Their partner could be the perfect partner in public, however, behind closed doors, as Shirley Smith has mentioned in her book, you have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. Yes, that perfect partner seems perfect on the outside, in public. That's not to say that they wouldn't and don't abuse their partner behind closed doors. My ex-husband did this to me. In public, he would never abuse me. In the presence of his family, he would never abuse me. He was the perfect husband. Behind closed doors, he was a different character. He was in control. He manipulated me. He abused me. He did this so that there would be no evidence whatsoever. He could go back on his word and say, I did not abuse her. She's crazy. She's gone crazy. She's telling you lies. What evidence do you have? Because emotional abuse is the most difficult abuse to prove because I don't have physical scars. So therefore, he manipulated me through this. He would never think of abusing me in public. He knew that in order to keep me under his manipulative, controlling and abusive ways, he would have to keep up this perfect husband aurora, this presentation of the perfect partner, the perfect husband, the perfect dad, a perfect person. How could he possibly abuse his wife when he appears so perfect? Therefore, it is very misleading to others. I couldn't explain to myself why I was constantly being abused. I couldn't understand why I was constantly being abused by my ex-husband, because I had no knowledge of what I know today. Codependence, dysfunctional families, toxic family members, denial. What are the other patterns off the back of my head? There's denial, there's control. Oh my goodness, I can't remember it all. There's denial. Let me see. There's denial. It's in here. Control. Denial patterns. Compliance. Control. Avoidance. Yeah. Denial, avoidance, compliance, people pleasing. Those are all patterns of a codependent. People who are codependents don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know what self-love is. They don't love themselves unconditionally because they were never loved unconditionally. They were taught that they are unlovable, they are unworthy of being loved, they are not good enough, they are crazy, and their emotions don't matter, their thoughts don't matter. So I'm very sick. Codependents are very sick. Not just mentally, they are very sick mentally and emotionally. Therefore, I feel very close to the Mental Health Awareness Week, and I want to make people aware that you're not crazy for having mental health issues. You're not mad, you're not abnormal on all the labels that society places on you. You have endured abuse from your parents, your main caregivers, your family members, or even your colleagues at work, your manager, your supervisor, your teachers, whoever you have contact with can abuse you. I've been subjected to abuse from a number of managers, a number of bosses. I had no idea that those people were codependents. I had no idea that they were born into a dysfunctional family. I had no idea some of them were as toxic or even more toxic as my ex-husband. I hope you got something from this video. If you have any questions, please comment below, like and share this video to help others be aware of their own mental health. Until next time, I shall see you later. Take care. It's bye from Kit.